Hello and welcome to another edition of Motor Cars Enthusiasts. Right off the bat on the old show today, we've talked a little bit about the brand new Ford GT, supposedly going to be going into production somewhere around 2016 as a 2017 model. The twin turbocharged V6 monster apparently now has a new home for where the production will actually reside. It's in Canada of all things, and it's going to be done at a place called Multimatic. Multimatic has built some of the greatest race cars on the planet. In fact, they built the old GTS-R version of the Chrysler Viper that actually was run by the factory just up to last year. And in fact, at the 24 Hours of Daytona, which just wrapped up this morning, at least as the taping of this particular program, actually won its class overall, so not too shabby and a pretty good piece of kit, and furthers the rumor that this particular machine will be a race car, will be at Le Mans. In fact, the folks over at Fox Sports 1 actually put that up to one of the heads of the Ford Motor Company, which he said that, you know what, we're really not actually thinking about racing the car as of yet, or we haven't actually talked about it yet. Baloney. I guarantee those folks have already talked about it, and that's probably why this car exists, to make a race car version, to go to Le Mans to celebrate the 50th anniversary of their massive win, the 1-2-3 overall finish that they won at Le Mans over, well, 50 years ago, almost 50 years ago. Speaking with that same engineer, or that same head of Ford Motor Company at the 24 Hours of Daytona, he talked about the brand new twin turbocharged V6, the EcoBoost V6, that they're running in their Daytona prototype. He said it's roughly the same lump that's going to be going into the brand new Ford Raptor. And let out a nice little other nugget. Supposedly in the Raptor, it will be making 450 brake horsepower. Yes, a 6.1 liter normally aspirated V8 that is in the machine as of now makes just a touch over 400. I think 411 brake horsepower. So a tidy little jump up, not to mention losing some weight over the front nose, and that 10-speed automatic gearbox is going to be pretty trick as well. Cannot wait to hear more about this particular machine. Hopefully they'll officially come out with that horsepower number, but that's the way they were talking down in Daytona. Now, the folks over at McLaren, well, they do things a little bit differently than anybody else does, and I have to give it to them. They are not sitting around. The McLaren, when they came out with the 12C, they have come out with different versions of it almost every year, almost every month. I mean, it just seems like it constantly goes around. But they do some awkward things, like when the P1 came out, and a lot of people yelled at me because I made fun of it. When the P1 came out, they said, we're going to show off some sneak peek pictures, some teaser pictures. And then they showed out these huge high-res photos of every inch of the automobile, which I thought was a little bit hilarious. This being in the same situation. McLaren actually releasing these on their website. These are spy photos that they took, which I just thought was interesting as well. All kidding aside, McLaren's a hell of a company, and they do some very interesting stuff, and they feel that there's a gap in between what the 650S is now and the P1 is now, and that needs to be filling, so to speak. So this particular machine is going to be that car. They told the folks over at Autocar this is going to be the brand new McLaren 675LT. LT, a little tip of the cap to the old days. Remember the old long tail version of the McLaren F1. Now this vehicle is going to be a more hardcore version than the 350S, but it will remain the 3.8 liter twin turbocharged V8, but it'll be putting out 666 brake horsepower. 666, that's the mark of the beast, isn't it? Now that'll be shifted through the same transmission that's in the 650S as of now to make 0 to 60 sprints, thanks a little bit to that 100 kilograms of weight this vehicle is going to lose. 0 to 60 comes in at 3.0 seconds with a top speed 207 miles an hour. Hearing that they're only going to build probably somewhere around 250 of these particular units at a cost of somewhere around 400,000 pounds sterling. But we'll have some more official stuff when this vehicle makes its official debut at the Geneva Motor Show. Next up on the list, speaking of a McLaren lover, this particular fellow, Mr.Bean, a.k.a. Rowan Atkinson, big accomplished comedian, actor, he's vintage racer, all-around gearhead. He's a heck of a guy as well. Very entertaining actor as well. Well, you probably, if you know Mr. Atkinson, a.k.a. Mr. Bean, you probably know about one of his favorite McLarens, being this, the vehicle he bought brand new in 1997 for the equivalent of $750,000 US dollars, the McLaren F1. And Mr. Atkinson, he didn't treat this car like a lot of people treated those McLaren F1s. He drove it all the time. 41,000 miles have gone on to this particular machine. He's taking kids on the school run. He heads to the store in this thing. He just uses it like a normal, everyday automobile. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. Now, if you've read on the old interwebs as well, you've probably noticed this thing's been it's been beat up a tad bit. It's been in 2 pretty severe accidents. One time actually rear-ending someone, and another time big off. Boy, ripped the entire rear end of this particular machine off. But Mr. Atkinson sent it over to the folks over at Walking over at McLaren. They stitched her back together as good as new. And in a situation that I thought would never, ever happen, because this man loves this car fantastically, it's now for sale. This vehicle is for sale for $12 million US dollars. And don't think that he hasn't put his fair share of cash into this car. That big crash that that they ripped the rear end of it off, that cost $1.3 million worth of damage. So he's got his fair amount of change in it. I think would be a fantastic collection, part of anybody's collection as far as the notoriety of Mr. Atkinson, not to mention the story that this car leaves behind. Fantastic piece of kit, and I hope that it heads to a new owner very, very soon. And that's all there was that I thought was worth talking about for this edition of Motor Cars Enthusiasts. If you want to jump on over to the Facebook page and like us over there, we'd appreciate it. Also, if you'd like to subscribe to the channel, you can do so at any time and get the first dibs on the brand new show as soon as they come out. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again real soon.